Good evening. This is Moonlight Conversations. I'd like to introduce our executive producer and host, Mr. Perry Sagliaco.
You got it right. That's very good. I know my last name is a mouthful, but this is Masha Alexis, everybody. And Masha, you're looking good tonight. Welcome to the show. I'm so glad you joined us here tonight because you got an interesting career in music coming up. And how do you feel tonight?
Oh, I'm fantastic. I'm happy to be here with you and so glad that we met a couple months ago and that everything finally came together.
You know, when I met you at the IEG Festival, when you told me your name, Masha, I thought you had to be from Boston originally, you know. I thought you were saying Marsha was your name, but now you said Masha is my real name. Yeah. You said because it's a traditional Russian name. Said okay, and then I thought, you know, we could put her in the Brady Bunch movie and said Masha, Masha, Masha. Yeah.
Yeah, I swear, if I got a quarter for every time somebody said that, I would be a millionaire by now.
Okay, very good. So you are in the band. Of course, you're the front runner of the band, Masha Alexis and the Family, or FAM.
And the FAM.
FAM, F-A-M. You shortened it to the FAM. So how's the band doing at this point right now?
Oh, man. I got to be honest. We are blowing up in a very, very awesome way. I just came back from a bunch of conferences, and we dropped a new single in October. We've got another new single coming out in February 14th. We start recording 2 new songs literally on Tuesday, plus we're doing a small California swing in March. I mean, great. There's just so much happening right now.
That song is going to be released on Valentine's Day. I imagine that's going to be a love song, right?
No, we'll call it the anti-love
song. Oh, my jeez. Okay, all right. Not bad. Okay, well, it's great. And we got a touring schedule coming up, you said.
End of March. We're arranging it right now.
Just in California?
Yeah, we're doing a full California swing this time. We've got fans in Santa Cruz and Napa and San Luis Obispo, and all of them want to see us. So we're going to just swing right on up the coast.
So it's just major cities. Are you going to have the little towns as well?
Yeah, we'll probably hit a few little towns. You can't leave them out when you're driving through. It just wouldn't be nice.
Exactly. Yeah, well, I wish you all the luck on that tour. I hope you're going to do well with that.
Thank you.
Well, let's put the band aside for a moment and just concentrate on you here for a minute. Now, how did you get into music? I mean, you had piano lessons when you were 4. Oh, that must have been great. You must have got your hands slapped. Oh, do it this way. Do it that way. Right?
What's funny is I actually started violin when I was 3. Being a daughter, of Russian parents, music was very important. Yeah. Let's just say I'm terrible. It's my favorite instrument, and I am horrendous at violin.
Violin is not that easy of an instrument. I'm a violinist myself. I know how hard it is. The intonation is the key to the situation, you know?
I'll be honest. I played Twinkle Twinkle Little Star for 1 year and was like, okay, no, this isn't going to happen anymore. So I switched to piano at 4, and I actually took to it immediately. I still remember that moment in my first lesson where the teacher played it and I repeated it and she played it and I repeated it, and it was so natural for me. That being said, I come from a classical background. Classical voice, classical piano, I've sang opera, I've done it all. Let's just say those teachers are really passionate about you playing correctly.
Yeah, well, they don't, as I say, you know, especially in like Russia or in the real traditional classical music, they don't want you just to get by.
No.
You know, they will be on you until you do it perfect.
I've had toilet paper rolls chucked at my head for hitting a wrong note before. Yep, just right across the room.
Toilet paper rolls?
Yep, we weren't even playing a song. I was just doing scales. We had to do scale runs. She was like, poof, hit a wrong note.
Okay, great. Well, let's get to the next thing. Now, you went into dance somewhere around the age 12?
Yeah, so piano when I was 4. Then I started singing with the Peabody Children's Chorus when I was 7. And that naturally, I grew up in Baltimore, and there's a huge theater community there, so that all naturally led me to musical theater. And the problem is, I actually hit puberty really young for a girl. So I couldn't play the little girl roles anymore because I didn't look little, but I wasn't by any means mature enough to be playing these adult roles. So I started getting hired a lot as a dancer. I did Jesus Christ Superstar as a dancer and Music Man and all these shows, and I was like, maybe I should take a dance class. So I actually had to barrage my mother for a year before I finally got permission to take a dance class. And what's interesting is back then, dance was always, oh, it's a side thing, it's all music. And then at some point, it just shifted for me.
She wasn't the traditional mother who got you in the ballet. Right?
Oh, no, I started in ballet.
Oh, you did get involved in ballet.
Started in ballet.
Oh, okay.
Loved it. I still take ballet to this day. I took ballet yesterday, to be honest.
Okay.
Stefan went at 10 o'clock in the morning. That's my heart.
How about
right
tap?
there.
I was very much into tap. I tapped my feet until they just couldn't go anymore. At one time. I love tap. I mean, you can get really worn out after so long. But I loved it. And did you try tap?
I did. I definitely tapped. Had a really good time doing that. I actually did a musical Anything Goes.
Yeah.
Yep, definitely performed as a tapper. Was one of the angels in Anything Goes.
Yeah, one of the angels. Okay.
Oh yeah, I was Charity. Charity. I think her name's Charity. Man, that was a long time ago. Woo. But yeah, I was one of the angels, and it was lovely. And then, but yeah, so that's like I said, why I was dancing, and I have a degree in dance. I went to college as a dancer.
Oh, okay.
And the dance company called Deeply Rooted Dance Theater actually picked me up right out of college. I moved to Chicago and was their first ever company apprentice, and I toured with all these big name choreographers and all that stuff. And then I honestly realized I was kind of unhappy.
I've always wondered about dance, okay, as far as getting a scholarship. Well, you know Madonna's story. She got into the University of Michigan on a dance scholarship.
Yeah.
Now, I was wondering, is that equivalent to an athletic scholarship? I mean, is it a partial scholarship, or is it a full 4-year scholarship through college?
You know, it honestly depends on the school, and it depends on how much they like the arts. So some schools actually put dance under the arts program, and some schools put dance in the athletic department. So it really depends on the school. I actually did not have an art scholarship to college. I had an academic scholarship. I was very lucky to be blessed with very, very good grades.
Oh, that's good. And you had intentions to actually go into pre-med.
Oh, I was dancing pre-med for my undergrad. My mother and I had a very, very distinct arrangement. I could do art as long as I got a job in it. But if I didn't get a job, then I was going to go into medicine. And so literally, I wasn't kidding when I said that. 2 weeks before I graduated college, I didn't even graduate yet. I moved to Chicago 2 weeks before my graduation, and I got permission from my choreographer to come back and walk across stage.
Now, you would have been, this would have been interesting, you would have been a dancing doctor, right?
Hey, who says I'm not going to be a dancing doctor 10 years from now?
And let me guess, you would have gone into, what, orthopedics?
Yeah, definitely orthopedics.
Because it has to do with the dance.
I just love the body and the human nature of that.
Well, that would be great. That would be the dancing doctor, I would say. Okay, well, anyway, let's go forward now. And now, how did you get involved with the band? Did you form this band?
So that's actually what's really funny. That's where my whole plan for life completely diverged. I'm Russian. We all have 5-year plans. And I had a very clear plan. And as I mentioned earlier, I'm dancing my way across the United States, and I have this dream job, and I'm really unhappy. So I started taking just voice lessons as a hobby again. I'm working with this really amazing woman in Chicago, and it really felt nice. And then my choreographer at the time got his Lifetime Achievement Award at 82 years old and decided he had to retire. I was like, oh, well, crap, I need a new city. So ended up in LA. And I'm out here in LA, and I got my first job. I was resident choreographer for a girl group called Ballet. And I'm there doing rehearsal, and they're recording, and we're in this really famous producer and composer's house, Anthony Marinelli. And they needed some backup vocals done in Russian. I'm like, oh, wait, I can do that. So we set up a screen in his living room, and I went behind, and in 20 minutes, I laid down the backup vocals. And I realized, I was like, oh.
Wow.
That made me actually really happy. So I got a vocal coach here, Rachel Lawrence, who I adore, and I could not have done this without her. And she just kept pushing me and saying, Masha, you got to go solo. You got to do it. You got to go solo. It's time. Stop singing. I was doing backup for everybody at this point. I mean, I even sang backup for a heavy metal album at one point.
Okay.
And I finally was like, okay, Rach, I'm going to do it. So I wrote this EP. She co-wrote it with me, and I went to put the EP out, and I needed to have a release party. So I talked to a very good friend of mine, and I said, hey, Josh, you want to play bass for my release party? Do me a favor. And he goes, you're putting together a band. I'm like, no bands for me. No. And he kept pushing me, and he was right. He came on first, our guitarist came on second, and then it just kind of started to grow and transform from there. And very organically, I realized that what we have now, it took us about a year to year and a half to get to the full band, Masha Alexis and the fam. It is so much better than anything. I am so much better with those guys and those people in that room than I ever could have been solo.
Well, these band members of yours are all educated as well, right?
Oh, yeah. So it's funny because there's 4 of us who are music school kids.
Right.
You know, our drummer Kyle has a master's in percussion from UCLA. Our sax player is finishing his degree right now at one of the Cal States. Please don't let me lie to you. My trumpet player's at Cal State Long Beach, but they're all these great music trained guys. And then actually on the opposite, our bass player and our guitarist are more your traditional rock, self-taught guys. And it's awesome because when you put together the 2 sides of the room, I feel like that's why the music we're writing is so new and people gravitate to it so quickly because you have both sides.
Well, do you find your band members were, dedicated to what they're doing? I mean, do they always make it to the rehearsals?
Oh, yeah.
And they, are ready to go on the tours if they have to go on the tours?
No, these guys are great. I'm not kidding when I say I really was not going to make a band, Perry. I'm not kidding. I was so anti.
It's like everything. You got to make a living while you're trying to achieve these goals. Now, everybody in the band has jobs.
Okay.
So are they able to take time from those jobs when you want to do these touring
are the
episodes,
most amazing, committed, talented. I mean,
that's hard to find.
Our drummer Kyle he's actually been taking all these new classes in production and outgrowing his own equipment so we can start recording ourselves. And Phil, our guitarist, he is with me running things every day, and we're in the room writing together and collaborating. Our poor bass player Sergio lives all the way in Lancaster. And he drives down. I mean, we did a show at House of Blues Foundation Room, and during the fires, and poor guy, it took him 3.5 hours because the fires, literally everything was on fire, and he still showed up at House of Blues.
That's called dedication.
I mean, these guys are phenomenal.
That certainly is called, that's commitment. That's something you just can't get enough of.
No, I'm truly blessed. That's why I'm not kidding when I say, though this isn't what I wanted, the universe had its own plan, and this is better than anything I could have planned or worked for and expected. It just happened so organically. Even the name, that's how the fam happened, because we were just having these rehearsals, and we'd come into rehearsal, I'm like, okay guys, family meeting, and I'd give notes, or hey, this is coming up next, and it still was kind of evolving, and finally our sax player, James, looks at me one day, and he's like, why aren't we just the fam?
Yeah.
I'm like, oh.
Well, I guess that would bring up, you being the only female in there. I mean, you probably think, I'm sure, that it's tough being the woman in the band right there. You got to lay the law down to everybody. Certainly, when you got a bunch of guys together and you're the only. Have you ever tried to get another female in the band?
I have tried so many times. It's just. You just
I don't can't harmonize with the girl, or what?
No, it's not a personality. It's either they're booked, or honestly, we tried with the horn players, and there are not a lot of professional female musicians. We're in the minority. So some of them are already booked with other gigs, which awesome, more power to them, but we need somebody who's dedicated to growing the project. We don't want just a session player. So we have tried, and for albeit whatever reason on earth, it's never happened. So it's me and 5 dudes, and thank goodness they are the most beautiful, wonderful humans, and I respect them and they respect me. So I have no problem being the female in the band. I'd love to have another one, maybe balance the testosterone in the room a little bit.
Well, you're married. Is your husband in the band at all?
No, he's an actor.
He's an actor.
Yeah, no, I've tried 100 times to get that man to sing with me. He's a beautiful singer. Mama was a jazz singer, but he's happy in his corner. I live in my corner, and I hang out with my boys, and he's doing his shows, whatever it is. But
does that work out real well?
Oh yeah,
in married life.
I'm happy.
We have 2 artists married together. Yeah.
I don't think it would work if I was with somebody who was not an artist, because nobody would put up with my crazy schedule. But
that's good. Yeah.
No, it's great because he's great. Like I said, the guys that I'm with are amazing. It's funny when we're on tour because they're all like in one room, and I feel bad because they're all like huddled together. And here I am in this beautiful like double queen bed alone. They get a little mad about that sometimes, but the thing that's interesting is when you're playing as a touring artist, and I've played multiple shows where I'll be the only woman on the entire bill for the whole night. There won't be another female on stage. And that by itself can be hard. I'm not going to lie. And you don't always get the most respect from the promoters or the bookers, or there are some issues that happen around being a female in this industry. And I tell everybody the key is you just have to know who you are. You cannot look for validation from somebody else.
Exactly. Okay, well, let's touch up on this organization that you have, that you created. Mm-hmm. It's Standing Tall.
Stand Tall International.
International, yes.
Terry, you're going everywhere today.
Yeah. Well, that's an interesting name for an organization. I thought maybe it was, before you really told me what it was about, my idea when I was here at Stand Tall organization, I thought it was something to go along with the Me Too movement now.
Oh, okay. So,
but at first, but then you explained to me this has more to do with humanitarian causes.
So, I'm going to go back to Stand Tall in a second. You just said something that I have to tell you. You remember you were asking me about the anti-love song earlier?
Yeah.
I'm not giving any details away except for if we were ever going to write a song for the Me Too movement, that one would be it. It really is kind of your girl power. Mm-hmm. I am so frustrated at looking for validation and from these outside things. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So I think that's kind of why we're putting it out on Valentine's Day.
Oh, okay. Good timing. Good timing.
You know,
I guess, yeah.
But that's an aside. So I always joke that I have the best life in the world. Right. I get to make music all day and save kids all night. So what I created, I'm co-founder of an organization called Stand Tall International. Okay. And we arrange and fund life-saving spinal surgeries for kids in East Africa.
How interesting.
And then the cool part is, following surgery, these kids stay in our program until they finish secondary school. And at this point, we take care of any and everything they need for a chance at a successful life.
Now, well, you mentioned East Africa. Now, is it Tanzania?
Yeah, Tanzania is where...
What is it? Do they have a high percentage of kids that are born with spinal problems? Or?
It's actually all over East Africa. They have kids like this in Ethiopia and in Uganda. I don't know what it is. There is a genetic thing in that region, but also you're talking about poor prenatal nutrition, there's no screening programs, and even the kids who do try to go to the doctors, they don't have the resources or the technology to even diagnose them. So by the time we meet them, I mean, they're in pretty life-threatening, critical situations.
Would this inspire you to think going back into medicine, possibly? I don't know. I mean, it sounds pretty involved when you talk about spinal surgeries and in that situation. I was wondering if that would inspire you to think about going back into medicine again.
You know what's really funny is I'm very lucky. Maybe that's why I do Stand Tall. It's my chance to scratch my medicine itch. But I mean, I'm in the hospital with the kids. I'm hanging with the doctors. I'm literally running up and down being like, because in Tanzania, taking pictures of these spines are like growing this way out of their backs. So I'll be in the room with the x-ray tech and I'm like, no, camera's wrong. Move it that way. And we'll draw, and I'll be actually directing them how to take these pictures. So I think maybe that's my chance to sort of scratch my...
So you do spend time traveling all the way over to Africa.
Oh, I've got to leave again in a couple weeks. I have to go before the new year to go pay school fees for all the kids and get them back in school.
You'll be spending the holidays over there?
No, this will be a short trip, so I'll take... I already was there in May. That was my long one, so this one I'll probably just be there for a week.
Oh, how interesting. Well, Masha... I would like to wish you the best of luck.
Oh, thank you.
With everything. The band, your singing, and with your charity organization. I hope you'll do well with that, and I hope you'll do a lot of promotions about that. You might be able to stir up a lot of, who knows, with celebrities and everything, interest in that.
That's what we're hoping. So it's funny because you're actually the very first interview where I'm talking about Stand Tall. Because up till this point...
I feel privileged.
But it's true. I've always kept it over here, like this is one part of my life and the music is very separate. Because something that's important to me is I never want to use those kids to help my career. Okay. Those kids are beautiful and they're special and they're phenomenal and it has nothing to do with me and the work that I'm doing. It's about them.
Exactly.
But I have a really good friend who's huge in the music industry, and he's been getting on me for ages. And finally he looked at me and he goes, Masha, what if you actually use your music to help the kids then? Right. Isn't that okay? And I realized, like, oh, well, if you put it that way. So that's actually going to be our first concert in the new year. We're working with the promoter right now to get the venue. We're doing our first ever charity concert.
Great.
And we've got a couple different local bands on it, and all the money we raise that night will go directly to the kids.
Okay, great.
And arranging spine surgeries, so that's really exciting.
Yeah.
And the band, it actually wasn't even my idea. Besides my friend, who I can't mention, the band itself has been pushing me. They're like, let's do a show for the kids. Let's do a show for the kids. So I had to give in at some point and say yes.
Great. Well, I'm sure the audience, after hearing all this, I'm sure you want to know how to get in touch with Masha here. So, Masha, can you give us your website and all the other ways of reaching you?
So, if you want to follow us, we're on all Instagram, Facebook, Spotify, YouTube, you name it, we exist. Masha Alexis, we're the only one. So Instagram's masha.alexis, Spotify's just Masha Alexis. My website is mashaalexis.com. And secret, I have to give a plug. We dropped a new single, brand new, called Jumper in the middle of October. So just actually, oh my goodness, like a month ago now. And that is also streaming on all platforms. The music video for that will be coming out on YouTube also in the beginning of January. So you'll find us everywhere.
Okay, so we've been with Masha Alexis tonight. Certainly happy she came aboard with us tonight, and wish you all the great luck. And of course, I've been your host, Perry Saglianco, for Moonlight Conversations. Thank you for joining us. We'll see you next time. Good night.